It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse here with me as well. Glad to have you guys all with us on a Monday as well. Patrick, Twins can't hit. That's the
Wow.
bottom line right now. They got shut out on Sunday against the Rangers. Not good pitchers that the Rangers were necessarily throwing at them. They only got like 4 hits in that game, and homestand has been okay so far, 4-2, thanks to the sweep of the Royals, and they got one more crack at Texas today. But then after that, Patrick, things get a little tougher
Yeah.
for about 2-3 weeks. And if they don't
Yeah.
hit against Texas, I don't like their chances against the slightly better teams they're going to be facing, like the Astros and the Yankees, and even Cleveland and Chicago, and they've got Boston and San Francisco in there too, and those are not great teams, but their next 6 opponents are somewhere between okay and great, and that's not good
Wow.
for them.
No, and the Astros might be the Astros might be the second best team in the baseball compared to the Dodgers, and have been way better than the Yankees lately. That's for sure. So yeah, it's not good. And Jim Swin wrote about this morning, and we were all talking about it yesterday in the press box. Bottom of the batting order.
Yeah.
This is not a big league lineup, and with Correa being mediocre and other issues, it's I don't know. Somebody, this was a week ago. Somebody, and I haven't went and looked it up, but back then they were 45% 3 runs or less, and now that number. It's got to be pushing 50% of the games they don't score more than 3 runs, and yeah, it's down at the bottom of the order is. There's not much down there, and you're playing. And when Buxton doesn't play, they're now stuck playing poor old Jake Cave again. And Sandy Leon was fun for a couple of days, but
Yeah.
he's an 85 hitter, and they got to catch him quite a bit because Sanchez is such a butcher. Has gotten worse as the season has progressed as a catcher, and yeah, they got they went, and I wouldn't say they fixed their pitching, but they certainly improved it, and we were all happy about that. But the lineup has gone in the tank, and the fact that Max Kepler stinks doesn't help, and that's for sure. I mean, the guy is close to unusable. He came up yesterday at a RBI situation, and we were saying which infielder on the right side is he going to hit this ground ball?
Yeah.
He pulled that one to the first baseman. But the other day, when he came back for the homestand, and he was 0 for 29, right? 0
Yeah.
for 20. He hit those 2 balls to left field for base hits the first game, and you could tell what somebody been working with him and say, hey, it's out there. And he hasn't got a hit out there since. That was like the first game back, and the rest of the week he didn't get a hit to left field. So yeah, he's certainly a disappointment. I had somebody said overrated, one of the most overrated Twins ever, and I wouldn't say that he was ever rated that highly. There was certainly 2019, you felt like he was going to be a really good player, but it has not happened. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he likes baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's all in. He just doesn't. He's such a laconic guy that it's hard to say. But maybe in his heart he wants to be a soccer player. I don't know what his problem is. But this is, one thing they're fortunate about with this bad lineup is Celestino. What if they were playing Celestino all this time and he was an automatic out? He's not great, but he's a competitive outfielder. He's competitive. He's a very good outfielder, and he's a competitive player. But he's supposed to be your backup to Buxton.
Yes.
And you shouldn't have to be playing all these other guys too. Now they lost Kirilloff and Larnick. And one of those guys, they wouldn't both be in a lineup all the time. They're both the same player, basically. Left-handed hitting outfielders, and Kirilloff can play first, but you got to rise over there now. But they've had some injuries, but not not a terrible burden of, not right now. They don't have that bad injury situation, and they just aren't very damn good. That's the problem. And you're right. Who are you gonna hit? How are you gonna hit now? I mean, the Yankees just won a game. They've lost 10 out of their last 20. I got news for you. By the time the Twins go out there to play them again, they'll have it figured out.
I would think so. Yeah.
This would have been the month in which to play the Yankees, because this is not gonna, that's not gonna continue to be the situation with that team. So I don't know. I don't think the chances of them winning the division are very good.
No, especially with Malley, is going to miss a couple starts here, and when he comes back, they might be treating him.
They lie? By the way, Malley, why do they lie to us? Why did they say, it doesn't look like he's going to have to go on the injured list? Yes, you're going to put him on the injured list. The 9-year-old kids who were at the game that day know that he's going on the injured list. Why do you give us this BS? Why don't you just do it? Because you're putting him on the, that he's going to, same thing happened to him in Cincinnati. With his shoulder, when he lost his fastball, they shut him down for 2.5 weeks. And he's going to get down for 2 weeks here. And then hopefully he'll be able to get to the finish line. But that's it is funny, though. You can lose him, and that isn't your biggest concern right now.
No, I know.
Concern is you can't hit. So,
yeah.
You know what? They didn't, they're not really drawn either, Mike.
What they have, like 24 yesterday?
Got 24 yesterday, 22 on Saturday night.
Nice days too, as far as I remember.
The Vikings were in town, I know, but I don't think that's the same audience. And they're not. People aren't really into this team like they might have thought. The momentum they thought they were gaining this summer with the fans doesn't seem to have been realized. It's been a frustrating team, but I think it might be baseball's situation in general.
Yeah.
I thought this was a mediocre baseball market for a lot of years now. Certainly not when they first came here, but that it's okay if the Twins are really good. People will come and watch the games, but we're not. We don't foam at the mouth over baseball in this town. That's for sure.
MGM Wine and Spirits is the choice for savings, service, and a great selection of spirits, premixed cocktails, wines, and of course, ice-cold beers and hard seltzers. With over 30 locations throughout the Twin Cities and beyond, there's an MGM near you. Head to MGMWineandSpirits.com to find a convenient location in your area. Get social. Follow MGM on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest news and trends. Make great moments with MGM Wine and Spirits, your locally owned and operated choice for over 50 years. Save time, save money. Shop MGM.
Buxton didn't play Sunday, and he's been playing quite a bit lately, and so he wasn't the problem yesterday, but looked up his stats because I think it was Saturday's game. They flashed his numbers with runners in scoring position. I could not believe it. And so I looked it up on Baseball Reference, and it is true. He is 9 for 62 this year with runners in scoring position, including 1 for 20 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position.
Wow. Yeah, he has decided to hit home runs. And,
yes.
And not become the great all around. What's his battery average? 230?
220, I think. 222, 224, something like that.
Yeah. The fact, next time somebody says he's having a great year, they got to look at themselves. And the other thing is, it's nice to have him playing, but when he DHs, that often knocks Urshela or somebody out of the lineup, and he's not the DH, but they move. Right. They move people around.
Miranda or Rise or somebody. Yeah.
Somebody's got to be out of the lineup. But yeah, that's a very good. That sounds like a Rand Ball essay to me.
It might be. I mean, it's just because I remember him having some big hits this year, but when I looked it up, I was like, that is like 1 for 20 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. It's like, it just made me think of how much right now they are leaning on Jose Miranda to do anything with. Right. I mean, he came through again Saturday. They couldn't take the gifts that Texas was trying to give him Saturday, but it seems like Miranda is the only guy that's really doing much lately with runners on base.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, Jorge is hitting 230 or something like 235. What's he at last time I looked? I got
he can't hit left. He can't hit left-handed, right? Or right-handed. Which one is it? I think it's right-handed.
37. Yeah, well, Arise and now Miranda, they kind of inflate that team batting average to 250, which sounds respectable in modern baseball. But yeah, they're just, when they go to play Cleveland, let's say, and when you compare them with Cleveland, you say, okay, well, they have a better lineup than Cleveland, but now they don't.
No,
they don't. And Cleveland's got way better pitching. So
yeah,
as far as starting pitching is concerned, plus they got Clase at the end, who's, unhittable. So, I mean, the White Sox obviously got a way better lineup, but they've been underachieving all year. But yeah, that Buxton stat is alarming to say the least. And I don't know. You think the new hitting coach here is going to be one and done?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking the other day about how 2019 was such an outlier in so many ways, and there's home runs hit across the board. The ball, there's something with the ball that year, obviously, but they did lose. What's that?
They had to make contact to hit those home runs.
You did, and Reusse left after this year, left after that year, right? That was the end of, and he went to the Marlins after that, and I don't know how much you never know how much cause and effect there is, but Reusse, obviously they had a huge success with him. Wes Johnson leaving in the middle of this year. You still, these things happen, and then you still talk about the players. And you do wonder how much, coaching, instruction, strategy matters sometimes.
Yeah, well, they went all in on this, the new novel approaches to hitting. One of these young guys, the Giants had that phenomenal season last year with this collection of brainiac hitting coaches, that had all these theories and stuff, and now they stink this year. So somehow they had a miraculous year out there, and then that became the thing to do, to get these young nobodies, or these young nobodies who are scientists of the hitting, and that's who this Popkins guy is. He's one of those guys, and right now it's certainly not working.
No,
but there's just no way you get to the finish line when this is the best stretch of pitching they're ever going to have, right?
Yeah,
the last 3 weeks, the pitching's been great.
Oh yeah,
and they still aren't doing anything because they can't hit now. So it's just a flawed team. That's the bottom line.
You talked about pitching. The bullpen had been pretty good, and then they got roughed up a little bit yesterday. It was fine if you want to try to sneak Emilio Pagan into a low leverage game, but again, 2 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. I had a notion. I tried it out on Twitter yesterday. A lot of companies are asking people to return to work, at least kind of in like a hybrid mode, come back to the office. I think I saw Apple wants people back 3 days a week. A lot of other downtown businesses kind of saying stuff like that. Maybe maybe the Twins should ask Emilio Pagan to work remote and not come into the ballpark at all, and just kind of, work from home, because this is not working, Patrick. I know the bullpen's been better. I think they did, Lopez has had a couple outings where you're like, yeah, he got kind of bailed out by the defense, things like that. But by and large, the moves they made at the deadline helped out a lot. But Pagan is still a problem. It's just not good.
Yeah, it's just not it's not working here. He might, he's got a live arm. He might go someplace and get some outs, and then people would, I don't ever. If a guy stinks here and then they let him go and he gets better, you can question why that happened. But I never questioned the fact that they made the move,
right.
That, the guy's, not helping you, not going to help you. And it's obvious this guy is not going to. He hasn't been as good as Alex Colomé was last year, for goodness sake. That's a bad statement to say, but
yeah.
It's time to just move on. And I think they got with Malley on the DL, they have to bring in a starting pitcher for next week in Houston, right?
I would think so, unless they're going to use Smeltzer.
I don't think that's happening.
No.
So I don't know. They're going to have to bring somebody over from the Saints. That might be the end of Pagan. Huh?
Yeah, that could be. It could be.
I think the public would favor it. So.
I would think so. I think maybe people have seen enough.
Well, I can probably say I was ripping him way ahead of the curve.
You were ahead of the curve because he was.
He got Tingler fired in San Diego last year, and then Tingler's the bench coach, and they bring him in. What the hell?
Well, he was getting outs early in the year, right? He was escaping all those jams, and we were talking about the inevitability of this, because his ERA was fine through the first couple of months. It was like around 2, but he was having those like 34 pitch, load the bases, get the guy in the 3-2 pitch on the corner innings, and that was not sustainable, and it has proved to not be sustainable. Hey, better news, Patrick. Over the weekend, they had the Twins Hall of Fame. Get Gardy back, Dan Gladden. It's Cesar Tovar, guy that you had been crusading to get in for quite some time based on what you had seen from him back in the late 60s, mostly was when he was kind of in his prime with the Twins. So
7-year run from 66 to 72 when he was probably the best. You got to look at what the era was as far as how they looked at leadoff hitters back then, and get hit with a pitch, steal second, score a run, and that type of stuff. And it wasn't like draw a lot of walks or anything. That was not the deal. They wanted a guy up there who could run, and then when he got to first base, he could steal second and get in scoring position type of guy. And he became a crusade for me when some of the people, as I said to this somebody yesterday, when they first start putting in Hall of Famers, you don't know what the standard's going to be, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got Oliva, Killebrew, and Carew. Okay,
yeah,
that's pretty good standard.
There's the obvious ones, right?
That's a pretty good standard, and then blah. But as things progress, guys start getting in that were not nearly as good as Cesar Tovar, and that's when I started saying, first of all, it took 12 years to get Camilo Pasquale in, which was really led the American League in strikeouts 3 times, and was the first ace in town here, and was a no-brainer. But that took 12 years, and then once Pasquale got in, I said, "Oh, the guys they're putting in now, they got to get Tovar in there." So I kind of started telling them I was going to rip up my ballot and mail it in an envelope if we didn't get these people to start voting for Tovar. Yeah, but he's made it and he deserves it. And he was a really great leadoff hitter and amazing character. Weighed 145 pounds basically.
Wow.
Career. And just a little guy, but he did some home runs and look up that 1967 season. It's unbelievable. They played 164 games that year in the Great Race, so they had to play right down to the last inning, to make it. They got beaten Boston twice that weekend and didn't make the World Series, but and he played all over the diamond. That's back then. The play in every position at 68 wasn't really that big a gimmick with him because he could do it once he pitched. And obviously not a catcher, but he when you look at him, he was done in the big leagues in I think the late 70s. He played in Venezuela until like 1990.
Is that right?
45 or so, and he was 48 or something, still playing the winter ball in Venezuela. But his interesting family life. He had the family down in Venezuela, and then he had the kind of the family here. His daughter Nancy Jones. Nancy Jones now is and her grandson PJ is going to be a big baseball recruit for college. He's going to be a junior at Creighton. PJ Jones, and the left-handed hitter, kind of a thick kid, not real tall, but I posted a video his mom sent me of him. They had the the perfect game, All-American game for underclassmen in San Diego a week or two ago. And I've got the video, and they're talking about him. He's at the plate, and the guys doing the announcing are kind of real inside ball drafty guys.
Yeah.
And they're talking about him. He hits it off the scoreboard out in right center at 8:20 in the morning in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
The ball isn't even carrying yet out here.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, but yeah, Cesar was a very good twin and certainly deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. And he goes in with another leadoff hitter, Gladdy. So Dan Gladden went in yesterday, and we're all thrilled for him. A few groans at his speech at the end there.
What did we expect? Give him a microphone. It's going to happen.
It's Gladman. He asked me afterwards. They had a little pressy thing for him up there in the press box, and I said, 23 minutes, Gladdy. You didn't beat Morneau. He went longer, according to the reports. Morneau went longer and certainly was more boring than yours. He said, "Did you think I went too long?" And I said, I could have gone for 5 minutes less, but yeah, I said, yeah, it was good. But he was excited and thrilled and had quite the weekend, that's for sure. Because they had a nice turnout of former players. But did you listen to Gladden's speech?
I heard some of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he's turned it in. Somebody said he turned it into a roast of Randy Bush. Randy Bush was maybe my favorite all-time Twins as a guy. You knew he would get some chuckles out of it. He was there, but he was how his stats and Bush's stats were very close on day games after night games, because that still sticks in his craw that the legend became. Kelly said he couldn't play day games after night games. I don't think Kelly ever flat out said that. He just didn't like playing him day games after night games. He thought he was a bit nocturnal, I guess. I don't know what it was, but anyway, yeah, Tovar, it's good to see him in. His daughter was really happy. His son, Cesar Jr. From Venezuela, has lived in St. Louis for years, and the family got to know each other, and so they had a small delegation, but they're happy, so that's good.
Well, and he was like the original utility player. We talked about this before we started recording. I mean, he played all over the field in the first few years, especially, and it wasn't a gimmick. He, like you said, he played the 9 positions that one year, but it was in the one game. But he was all over the field, infield, outfield, kind of like they use a rise a little bit now, or like they'd used who am I thinking of? Marwin Gonzalez before that. It's kind of.
That center field was a position that he could play.
Yes.
In fact, 1 year he played a lot of center field once Jimmy Hall started to decline, and then they traded him. Yeah, I mean, he was adept at the outfield, all the outfield positions, and he was good enough in the infield. He was good enough. Cott always tells the story about the first game he plays. Cott's pitching, and they put Tovar into pinch run, and then he ends up at third base, and the last out, the guy pops it up to third, and Cott's getting ready to walk off the diamond, and Tovar dropped the ball, dropped the pop fly, and they tied the game. Then he got a base hit to win the game the next inning. So Tovar did. So it was an eventful first game. But if you look at 65, he was only there for the first month, and then later in the season, because that's the stat I always give people. And that was still the era when they let you have 28 players through the end of April.
Okay.
Based on the pitchers need to, you needed more pitchers, right?
Okay.
That April, Calvin had 19 position players and 9 pitchers. Who needed more than 9 pitchers?
Oh man. Rocco would be that's
position players. He had like 5 pinch runners if they needed them.
Rocco would have the opposite. He'd have 9 position players and 19 pitchers.
Oh yeah, he would. So, but as it turns out, as we've been talking about here, hitting and he never thought hitting could make a big enough surge of ineptitude to beat out pitching as the number one concern.
No.
But right now, who do you like?
Yeah.
Arise.
Rise.
Who you like? You don't like Correa? He's not hitting.
He's okay. I mean,
Baki, you just gave me the horrifying that.
Miranda. Yeah.
You got a chance with Polanco. You like Miranda and Arise. That's it.
That's about it. Yeah, that's a problem. You're right. The bottom of the order has been just, when you get enough injuries and you don't have depth, that's, and Jeffers was a sneaky loss because as mediocre as he could be at the plate, he's better than Sanchez overall. And I don't know if he's gonna be back this year because when he went out in mid-July, they were saying 2 months maybe with that broken thumb.
Well, now I think somebody reported that it's probably not going to be back.
Yeah.
So what it is, but
a lot of people out.
He had a couple of weeks too. That he wasn't completely inept like he had a couple of weeks when he was a threat. And if he hit his batting, home run. But I don't think you can blame much of this on injuries, really. I mean, you're missing. I think Kirilloff would have really helped, but
yeah,
I don't wonder about his future. And Larnach, yeah, okay. He's an okay player, but
having both of those guys out hurts. If you had one of them healthy, you'd be good.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But it's not. You can't blame this mess hitting wise now on injuries. It's just they don't have a deep lineup, and they got guys not performing.
Any more wrongs to right in the Twins Hall of Fame before we move on to a little bit of Vikings talk? Maybe some loons at the end here.
Now, I'm prejudiced on this one, but when you look at the litany of relief pitchers that have been allowed in, Eddie Guardado, God love him, everyday Eddie, I would never campaign against him, but Al Worthington, who's now in his 90s and was a star of the World Series teams and through the 60s, it was back in the different era when they weren't closers, they were stoppers, and they might come in the sixth inning and get 13 outs, and then not pitch for the next day. But he was certainly one of their 4 or 5 best relief pitchers they've ever had, and I would put him ahead of Eddie as far as his importance to a team back then. Again, because you had 9 pitchers or 10, right?
Yeah.
And, but the problem there is he's married to my cousin, so I can't quite campaign for him as body. He pitched for my dad with the Folded Giants in 1950.
Is that right? Oh, wow.
And met my cousin Shirley down there in Fulda, who was the best looking girl in Fulda. And he I don't think they even dated, but she caught his eye, let's say, and he came back and they romanced her and they ended up getting married, I think now 71 years ago.
Wow.
And he lives down in Birmingham, and he worked for Jerry. He's a hardcore Baptist, and he worked for Jerry Falwell for a while as the AD at Liberty and that stuff. So,
okay.
But he's certainly he was one of the top 50 Twins, and but the number one guy missing, for God only knows why, Halsey Hall.
Oh, sure.
Halsey Hall is not in the Hall of Fame. That's unbelievable. They got a room named for him.
His name is in it.
Yes, his name is on. It could be the Halsey Hall of Fame, but he's not. I don't know how that happened. And, as I tried to tell St. Pete about 3 years ago, you need an old timers committee, and it can be me. I tell you without prejudice who is still missing. And I would, and number one would be Halsey. What?
Okay.
Doing it. I don't think that doesn't go to the voting in general. I think that comes from committee, right?
I think so, probably.
The announcer type, the John Gordons and the Jim Rance. You know who else is missing that should be in? Rick Stelmazy.
Okay, Stelly.
32 years coached here. That's the longest run of anybody with any team. And
he was here for both World Series and for most of the good 2000 run, right?
Yep, the late great Stelly would be. He's another guy missing. But player wise, it's getting a little thin here. Now we're going to be hitting the Maurer group here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So goes on the ballot next year, right? So
yeah,
he'll be in next year. So then, but not really. Not what it was a couple of years ago. Once Pasquale and Tovar got in, your real oversights from the early years were pretty well taken care of.
Patrick, a couple more things. I found myself last night, it was like 10:30, sitting there disappointed with Kellen Mond and Sean Mannion and how that game for the Vikings had gone Saturday. And again, not a lot of the starters playing in that game, but I just found myself Googling quarterback depth charts just to see like who might come available that might be better than, would be better than one of those guys as your number two. That's how bad it is right now. Those guys are, again, Cousins has been so durable. It maybe doesn't matter, but you're playing with fire if you ever need someone for 2 or 3 games and you don't want your whole season to go up in flames, because I don't see how Mond or Mannion can help you win a game.
Yeah, well, I did the same, not as extensively perhaps as you did, but the guy I fell upon was Matt Barkley in Buffalo. He's behind Josh Allen and Case Keenum.
Right.
And the other night, he played the other night with Buffalo, and it was 7 out of 8, 8 out of 9. I don't know what that means, but, he would be a guy that, if Cousins, gets COVID again and can't play against the Packers, he would be a guy that would give you a chance, I think. And, and he won't cost you much, because I was reading something before training camp anyway, that he might just get cut because they might just put some, have the 2 guys and then have some young guy on the practice squad and save the money. So that was the one I thought of. And you gave me a name that I hadn't thought of, but would also be interesting. Mason Rudolph.
Pittsburgh's kind of got a bit of a log jam because they signed Trubisky, and then they took Pickett in the first round, and then they've got Rudolph, who started some games for them. So I can't imagine they can't keep all 3 of those guys, because someone's going to get upset along the way. There's all 3 of those guys are accomplished enough that or drafted high enough that you're not going to keep all 3 of them. So I feel like Rudolph is probably the odd person out, because you didn't sign Trubisky to cut him, and he's got more experience. And you're not, obviously Pickett, if you're taking a guy in the first round, he's probably good enough to at least be your backup right away. He's played pretty well.
Well, where did he get drafted? He was top whatever.
He was up,
the one quarterback drafted.
He was up pretty high. I can't remember exactly where he got picked, but Pittsburgh was not good last year, so he must have been top 10 or 12 at least, right?
Yes. Yeah, he was, and the hometown player and all that stuff. So he's the future there, supposedly.
He was 20th overall. Sorry, 20th overall.
Okay,
he's not a great quarterback draft, but
nice. But Rudolph, big, strong kid, good athlete. He'd be certainly an upgrade. The guy who knows what the hell he's doing. He played for. There's probably others too, but that's one of those 2 guys. And if you have to give up a 6th rounder, that's okay.
Spielman's not running the draft anymore. You can get rid of those 6th rounders.
Yeah. Just I don't know. Mon just he's kind of got a good sinker ball going, right?
Yeah, keeps the ball down. That's good. Doesn't give up a lot of home runs.
I mean, Mike, it is amazing though. One of the greatest transitions in the NFL in the last 25 years is how you expect a quarterback to play by year 2. You know? You got to remember, even Culpepper, 11th overall, they didn't want to play him.
No.
The second year, right? They didn't play him at all the first year.
No, not at all the first year.
They didn't want to play him the second year. They tried to get Marino.
That's right.
A couple other guys. And then they were stuck with him. And it turned out he was ready to play and had a good year. But it wasn't like, it was just completely different. Aaron Rodgers is probably the last quarterback who ever had proper development, right? Because he didn't play for 3 years.
Right.
And that was common back then. I mean, Tarkington only played because from 61 when he first came in, because guy they got gave up a number 1 draft choice for, George Shaw, was terrible. Even though, and so they put Fran in, and then I think even that way he only started like 11 of the 14 games or something. So back then you just, quarterbacks were drafted with the idea they weren't going to play until at least year 3. And what they are facing now compared to back then, as far as defensive
exotic
speed,
defenses and speed of these guys. Yeah.
You had 11 guys out there playing defense, and 7 of them were slow moving white guys, playing against you that never changed what they were doing defensively. Right. And still they didn't play. And we expect this Mond kid, who they drafted as an athlete, right? They drafted him because he was a really good athlete. They thought it. Well, that's going to take a while. I don't know what talent he has, but we're ripping him like he's got no chance. And he's about where he probably should be, right? Yeah. Trying to learn what the hell's going on out there. And but the other thing is the clock starts running on these guys.
That's the thing.
By the time the year 3 is over, you got to decide whether you're going to commit to them, right? So,
well, and that's the thing that changed everything. I think it was the salary cap. All of a sudden, these guys don't just become players; they become assets. And if you can get a guy to play right away in the first year or the second year, then you've got him under the, team control. And whenever that changed, I think it was around like 2010 or something, when they just went with all the salary slots instead of negotiating with these guys. Then it becomes kind of pressure to play them right away because you've invested in them, and you only have them for, they're going to get expensive in year 5, and then it's not worth it as much anymore.
Trey Lance, kid from Marshall, Minnesota, played very little in North Dakota State, right? And now you expect him to be your quarterback, and if he's not, because of the assets they gave up for him, and if he's not like close to perfect, people are going to be ripping him.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different breed of cat here, and it would have been expected that they would have a reliable veteran. For 100 years, it was okay, we need 2 quarterbacks, and now it's we can't afford 2 quarterbacks. So right, so
yep.
Kirk Cousins, you can't afford some expensive guy, but Barkley or Rudolph, we solved the problem. Go get one of them.
Go get one of them.
Yeah, I hope Doffo is listening. We don't know if he is or not because he's hiding ever since his blunder. He won't not talking to anybody.
No, he's not.
Outing because he made fun of, I guess. It's part of the job, buddy.
It is. Patrick, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention at the end of the show, because my friend John Marthaler has been getting on me for not talking Loons. He said, the Loons had a big match coming up Saturday last week. You talked about Kirk Cousins swearing twice last week. You did not mention them a single time. So they did win on Saturday. They beat Austin. Austin's a good team. Loons 4th in the West and 2 games in hand on the 3rd place team. They're playing a lot better lately. Adrian Heath, ever since he got his contract extension, he seems like people are liking him a little bit more.
How many goals they have this time?
They had 2-1, I believe, was the final.
It was good considering their first 14 games. They had 15 goals. So.
Yes, they did. Yes,
scoring goals lately, so that's good. And God love them. People still over there drinking those $13 beers. So what the hell? Let's have a good time, sing your songs, and it's the future is bright. I guess. When does the season end? Early though, right?
Yes, season ends early because of the World Cup. So they'll we'll get on with the show here pretty soon, because I feel like
we don't have to shut down for another 2 weeks because of an international period.
I don't think so. I think we're in the home stretch of the regular season now.
All right. Randball appearing at State Fair at all?
Yes. Be there Thursday, Friday, and then me, you, and Chip are going to be out there a week from Tuesday, right?
Is that official?
I don't know if it's official yet. It's likely a likely appearance for the 3 of us out there a week from Tuesday.
All right. Well, God love it. I don't want to be candid about my view of going to the fair. So I go ahead, have a good time. Right.
Yeah. I'm supposed to talk to Bill Guerin out there on Thursday, and then someone with the Wolves on Friday, I believe.
All right.
We'll have fun. Right. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it. We'll see you.
Yep.